Okay, I've begun the recording.
Okay.
Appreciate Sofia Perez from Highland joining us today. Sophia is here to talk about her mom, Pamela, who died from COVID-19 in December, right around the holiday time.
Mhm.
In fact, just a couple of days after Christmas. And we really appreciate her being here today. Sophia, before we get into the circumstances of your mom's fight with COVID-19, tell us a little bit about Pamela as a person.
Oh, she was simply amazing. She was the epitome of the person that would give, her shirt off the back for anybody. She had so many friends. We have a huge, big Greek family that my mom was the matriarch for not only us, but for I would say for all my cousins and everybody. So she was just the one, she was always laughing. She was always giving, throwing the parties. I mean, my mom truly, she was the light of all of our lives. So, when we lost her, it was a huge hit for everybody, you know, all of us. And, she just, it just dimmed our whole lives. One second, let me get a Kleenex.
No, it's okay. I understand. You while you're doing that, you referenced in your note that yours was the house that all the kids wanted to be at. That the party was always
Yes.
going on. Mom was always entertaining. Talk a little bit about that.
Oh, so we had a pool growing up. So I mean, our friends from what I could remember, it was all summer. Everyone was always at our house. Had the pool parties, we had, the graduation parties. Anytime there was a cause for celebration, like eighth grade graduation, or even when we graduated fifth grade, anything my mom would can have an excuse to throw a party, she did. And um, oh, hold on. Let me do that. Sorry. And so she did. We have so many videos when we went through all the videos, the home videos. It was amazing. It really hit to us how much she made an impact on all of their lives. I mean, you could just see through the years, our friends from when we were in elementary school to middle school to high school. And a lot of those people reached out to us when my mom passed away. And that's exactly what they told us. We remember your mom like our second mom growing up. And she always cooked for us and had us over, and we always stayed the night. And it was just, I mean, we were the house to be at always, always. So it felt really good to hear from those people all these years later that she made such an impact on them, even when we were growing up.
Yeah, that's. It sounds like she left quite a mark.
She did. And we have all the videos and pictures that we used to yell at her for doing to prove it. Now we're so thankful for them.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I have kids that get irritated with me every time I want to take a photo or take a video.
Oh, that's the one thing I learned from this, though. I have to do more because she did so much of it back then because the video cameras were so kind of new. So she was, recording everything, and I thank God that she did that because that really helped us, during this time to watch that and hear her voice and bring back memories.
How many siblings do you have?
I have two.
Okay. So she had three kids, and how many grandchildren?
She has 8 grandchildren. Now those were her babies.
Tell me a little bit about that, about her role as a grandma.
Oh, she was more than a grandma to all of them. I had my first child very young, so she, kind of helped me raise him. Um, but she was their everything. Watching their heartbreak when she passed away was another heartbreak in itself for all of us. Everything my mom did since, we had all my sister and I and my brother had our children revolved around the grandkids. I mean, everything, every holiday, every anything. The first thing that she would do when she called us, where are my babies? What are my babies doing? Even when we FaceTimed her on Christmas Day, that was the last time we FaceTimed her, she just kept making sure that we got them the gifts that she wanted to get them and made sure that they had, a memorable Christmas, even though she couldn't be with us. Um, my mom loved her children, obviously, but her grandchildren were on a whole different level with her. They literally brought, I think, more meaning to her life than, not more than us, but she She definitely treated them better than she treated us. They were spoiled and they were her everything. She went to their Christmas concerts and their games, and so she's even a facet in my children's friends' lives. They knew, I mean, we had a lot of their friends come to the wake, because she's been around all of them, so she just, no, they were her life.
Yeah, she sounds like an amazing person.
She was.
Take me to the struggle that Pamela had with COVID-19, and when did you first find out that she contracted the virus, and what led up to it?
Well, it was the week of Thanksgiving, that Monday. My kids were over baking cookies with her. She was fine. That night she called me and started telling me how she was feeling, and I was like, okay, everyone jumps to COVID right away. Um, but they also say stay home, kind of do what you can at home. So we kind of watched her symptoms. She didn't spend Thanksgiving with us because she was starting to get progressively worse. Super tired. She just was lethargic, didn't want to eat. But she hadn't been tested yet. Then by the weekend, um, her doctor said we need to, take her to get tested. She was tested that Sunday after Thanksgiving. A rapid test came back negative. That Monday, she said she was feeling better, but I explained to my mom that they're the COVID roller coaster, that, if you don't feel better tomorrow, then you have to go get a real PCR test. That next day, sure enough, she woke up, she was terrible. She felt worse. So they had her scheduled for Thursday to get COVID tested. And by Thursday, we had to call the ambulance. So she went into the hospital December 3rd. And right away when she went in, she was on, she didn't realize, but she wasn't breathing. She was only sitting at like 70%. So right when she went into the hospital, she was on high flow oxygen the whole time. And from December 3rd to December 20th, it was a roller coaster. Some days she was doing well, some days she was able to talk to us, some days she was just so tired, kind of out of it. Um, they had a lot of trouble keeping her breathing at a normal rate, because some days she was doing it, and then some days it was 100% for her, that she was on 100% oxygen, probably for 90% of the time that she was in the hospital. December 20th, we received the first phone call about her first acute respiratory episode, where they realized that the true damage. They took her in for a CT that day, and that's the day that they discovered all the scarring, the massive scarring that she had in her lungs. And they couldn't do much more. They really wanted us to have her sign a DNR, but my mom at that point she didn't want to. She wanted to fight. She told them if they have to put on a ventilator, put on a ventilator, do whatever. The doctor said her exact words were, do whatever you have to do. I want to live. So that's what we did. We respected her wishes. That was that Sunday. And every day from December 20th to December 27th, it was just a steady decline. She slept 20 hours a day. Her anxiety was high. She didn't want to talk to us for a couple days. She actually agreed to talk to us on Christmas Day. And the first FaceTime, December 19th to the Christmas Day FaceTime, you could just see the decline in her. I mean, her face, she looked sick. She was tired. She looked like a different person. I mean, I couldn't believe that was only a few days in between. Then when we spoke to her on Christmas, before she let us go, she asked me to get back on the phone, and she told me to promise that I always kept our family together, and I would take her place. And I told her not to say that because, of course, I knew in my heart, but I didn't want to believe it, that, she was going to come home. And I think that's the day she knew that there was no hope that she can come out from this, alive. So I asked the nurse that night to ask my mom again, what does she want to do? It's okay to let go. We know that she's tired and that she's hurting. And so the nurse told me that she would, once my mom wasn't on so much medication, because she wanted to talk to her in her most, lucid state of mind. And then that's when they called on the 27th at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she said, your mom is ready to go, but she doesn't want to go until she talks to your brother. And so I was prepared to send my brother up there, and she let us all come up there, and my brother, my sister, my dad, and myself, which we were very blessed, Mark. I can't even tell you how blessed we are for that. So we were able to talk to her and get her wishes and, be with her until she took her last breath. I will say, being in the hospital, watching these doctors and these nurses and their eyes, we focus on eyes now because we wear masks, right? These, I can't tell you the sadness. I I can't even tell you. It was the most that right there was heartbreaking in itself to just watch these people walk around and essentially do this all day. That's what they do all day is watch people pass away or suffer. So we were able to be there with my mom when she took her last breath. And I firmly believe part of her death was from heartbreak. She hadn't seen us in 3.5, 4 weeks. She was able to FaceTime her grandchildren and talk to them and tell them that she loved them and that she would be watching over them. And then, we got to say our goodbyes to her.
So obviously very valuable for you folks to be there with her at the end.
100%. I think it's so necessary for closure. Absolutely.
What sort of things did she talk about in those final moments, or was she able to?
My mom was lucid until the she took her last breath. And that's the killer part of this disease because it attacks, your very, very need for living is having lungs, right? Well, that's what really got her. It really destroyed her lungs. So her mind was always 100% there. And I kept praying, like, please take her mind because she knew exactly what was going on. And so when we got there, she was crying. She kept saying, she was cold. And then she told us that she loved us. Her and I always used to say, I love you to the moon. And she would say, and back. And, I told her I love her to the moon. And she said, and back. You could barely hear her talk because there was such a high flow of oxygen going on. But she was trying so hard. I mean, she couldn't breathe. But she was able to tell everyone that she loved them to make sure, especially my brother, because his son's only a year and little over a year. And my mom really missed out on him because he was born in October 2019 and then COVID hit, the beginning of 2020. And so she never got to experience that relationship with him that she did the other seven. And so she kept telling him, make sure you take care of your Rara. They call him Rara. Please love him and hope, make sure that he remembers me, which we assured her that he would. And she, of course, her worry was the grandkids and my dad. Those were the two that she was the most worried about because she knows, we're strong. We're lucky we're strong like her, but she was worried about them. And I think that's all she needed to hear from my dad, that it was okay for her to go, that he was going to be okay. And we were there for about 15 minutes. And as soon as she talked to everybody and everything, she tried to pull her mask off, Mark, like she was done. That's all she wanted was to talk to us and get her last words to us. And she just wanted to go. I mean, I think, it sucks because she knew, you know what I mean? But after she got to express her last words, she was done. And that's what she was waiting for.
Well, you mentioned your dad. Your
Mm-hmm.
dad obviously is still alive. He's had to go through this loss too.
Yes.
How is he doing with all this?
They were married for 39 and a half years. And I I don't think he realized not I don't want to say he didn't realize what a loss it was going to be, but I think he truly realizes how lonely it is without the person that you've been with for 39 and a half years. Of course, they quarreled and they got on each other's nerves and all the good things that we do with our significant other. But I think it truly hit him like he's devastated. And he's trying to stay strong for us. But, I think it's super important for him to go through this process because I don't think he will be okay if he doesn't. He takes everything one day at a time. He's been to the cemetery. He goes to the cemetery almost daily. I think that's his way of coping, like feeling like he's close with her. Um, but he he's he's heartbroken. He went back to work and then he stopped working. So it's been, it's touch and go for him. I think the process for him is going to be long, but I think the true way of grieving is letting yourself go through it the way you have to. And my dad is really it really hit him, very hard. So my sister and my brother and I, someone's there with him every day. We go over there, bring the kids over, try to visit with him because his way of taking care of himself is taking care of others. And so we let him do things for us. And, you know, that's just his way of coping. It's one day at a time though with him. Definitely one day at a time with him.
Well, Sophia, we can tell from your scrubs, you're a medical professional, you're a medical
Hmm.
assistant. You've
Yes.
also had a family that has gone through horrible loss and tragedy from this virus. You have a unique perspective because you're in the healthcare industry and
Yes.
you've seen what the virus can do firsthand. If you could say anything to people out there that still aren't taking it seriously, that still aren't, sure that they want to accept that this is a real thing, and there
Right.
are folks out there that are still like that. Uh,
Absolutely. Every day I hear it.
yeah, what's your message to them?
Well, my number one, message, heartfelt, is I hope they never have to experience, the pain and heartache and gut-wrenching grief, knowing how terrible of a death that COVID is. It's not just a flu. It's not just, a random thing that only takes people that have, past medical histories and, comorbidities. It is real. And I think if we can get out of the me mentality and think of things in the we mentality, like, for instance, wearing masks. Okay, maybe it won't prevent you from getting it, but it will help you from spreading it if you're asymptomatic. I mean, that's what I keep hearing from everybody. Everyone is so tired of wearing a mask because how it bothers them, and it's hard for me to breathe, and I hate wearing a mask for this, but that me mentality, I think, is one of the reasons why COVID got so bad. I mean, we need to be thinking of everybody as a whole. And, I also want people to, as soon as people find out that, my mom passed away from COVID, the first thing everybody says is, oh, well, did she have something else? People need to stop minimalizing these 400,000 deaths in the United States. Stop it. If COVID wasn't here, those people would be here. If COVID wasn't here, we wouldn't be living a